Hi, I'm David Francisco. I'm a professional wrestler. If you want to see more about me, check out my main channel. And on my podcast recently, I had Simon Miller, where we discuss a little bit this period without wrestling and how it would be to return to wrestling. What are we thinking about? The last match he had before lockdown, and who he wants to wrestle when wrestling comes back. If you want to listen to this podcast and every podcast that I do, make sure you subscribe to my podcast. Links are in the description. There was an edition of the podcast that we did a few months ago where we talked about this, right? And so you guys can go and listen to it. Make sure you do. David Francisco podcast, Simon Miller on it. And we just kind of talk about a lot of your content creation there. I don't think we went a lot into the wrestling side of it. How you just went from doing stuff in front of a camera, like in front of that green screen that's there behind you, into being like, nah, I'm gonna train one day, and here I am. How are you approaching like this return to the rings, and that will eventually come sooner than later? And what are you feeling about that? Before you do, let me just say thanks to Jesse, for subscribing, for following. It's good to have you there, Jesse. Hi, welcome. You were saying, Simon, sorry?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know at the moment because it's like a chicken and egg scenario. Because I would like to, I'm sure you're the same, I would like to get in a ring and bump around a little bit first because we haven't done this in a year. And I'm still a work in progress anyway. But, you know, if somebody offers you a booking, you're also like, well, maybe it's difficult, isn't it? Like, what do you do? Maybe it's best to just throw yourself back in there and know that your first couple of matches are going to be a little bit rusty. Or maybe it actually makes more. I don't know. I really don't know. But as soon as somebody says, and also, you know, again, I know we're not going to go into it too much, but it all depends on what the scene is for training in Britain as well at the moment, because that's going to be massively different too, for the better, absolutely. But it's going to be a different environment. So it's kind of like learning it all again, which is kind of terrifying because, yeah, like I said, I was still learning it to begin with, but I'll just be happy to do it. You know, like that's the whole reason I wanted to get involved to begin with. Why I love all the reviewing and the critiquing, whatever you want to call it. But I always had an urge to do this. And then all of a sudden that going away was the worst. So the fact that we get to jump back into it again. I think this time as well, I'm going to take it seriously because you have to. But I'm going to try and enjoy it. I enjoyed it before, but, you know, you overthink some things and, you know, I think me especially, I get worried about what my performance is going to be. I mean, I probably won't do this as soon as I get there, but I'm going to try and enjoy it a lot more. Just enjoy the experience for what it is. And because, again, if I had known that my last match was going to be my last match, I wouldn't have been nervous at all, apart from those awesome nerves that you get. But I'd be like, man, just go out there and do it. We make a mistake. But yeah, so hopefully I actually go back being a bit more relaxed and out of that, you know, maybe you put on better performances. I don't know, but yeah, I have no idea what the route out of this is. I mean, do you have any plans? I guess the same thing, right? You're just going to take it day by day.
Well, how long has it been since you had since you last were in the ring?
Pretty much coming up to a year. It was basically early March.
Oh, so, yeah. So I obviously like my last match was March 15, and then in the summer, once for the first lockdown ended, Ollie Peace was setting up his ring in his backyard, and just putting it together. Yeah. And like the rule was like 6 people outdoors, right? So we kind of like made sure the number stayed small, and obviously like people paying attention to like if they were in contact with anyone with COVID and stuff. And I would just go to his ring. I went to his ring like 3 or 4 times and drove down. Made the first time, after like 4 or 5 months of not only being away from a wrestling ring, but being away from everything, because you kind of just stop at home and your levels of movement just go down. Dude, I thought it would be fine. Well, I'm going to be a bit tired. I'm going to like be out of breath a little bit. I couldn't even stay to help put the ring down. I was done. I was spent, right? Eventually, I kind of like got it back. And then lockdown 2 happens, right? And it's just like, hey, ZEW, thank you so much for the bits. Welcome. And then lockdown 2 happens, and the same thing's going to happen again. I think that at least this time I'll know what to expect, you know? And I didn't see the press conference, which is happening right now. I don't know why Boris Johnson tried to counter-program me, but he did. I will just have to live with it. I didn't see the thing yet, but like apparently from a few things that I've read, he's gonna now like basically the vaccine works, right? And the hospitalizations
Yeah.
should be going down. At least they are going down in other countries that are even further than us when it comes to vaccination of their population. And if that's the case, I think that the road is going to be like, if shows come back in the summer, then I'm sure that wrestling schools will be able to come back in between. So like Knuckleox or whatever Knuckleox is going to be when it comes back, will come back at the same time, and hopefully we'll all be able to have a bit of a roll around in the ring before we actually get to do our first shows back, right? Because let me tell you, those guys who got the chance, and I would probably, like, if I was invited, I would have said yes anyways. The people who got a chance to go to the Ref Pro or the Progress shows, and just like after months of nothing, or like probably almost nothing, being put in a position where you need to perform because the cameras are on, at least there wasn't an audience there, right? Because if there was an audience there, then it would probably even be even more nerve-wracking. But I don't envy them. I kind of like, I would obviously love to do it, but at the same time, it's like, you know, at least I should be able to get some time in the ring and not feel like I'm gonna die of cardio, you know, when I'm back there.
Yeah, it's intimidating. Like that's even if it was a small show in front of 20 people, right? It's the mindset of, I haven't done this for a long time, and we all know, like anyone that's even gone to train to be a wrestler, we all know that first bump is the worst thing ever. And you kind of laugh like, not really, that can't be right. And you build up a tolerance to it. And obviously no one has that right now. No one.
Yeah, we all lost that tolerance. Yeah. Man. Actually, like, there's someone here on the chat saying, thank you so much for your messages, guys. I appreciate it. I'm going to read a few of them out loud here to Simon. Let me catch up. But one of the things that Dan says, horrified of the first bumps in general. I think Dan has never, if I'm not mistaken, Dan, you never had like physical training before in wrestling. So like your first bump is going to feel the same as it would at any point. It's not like lockdown to many worse. But now everyone else around you is going to feel like they're taking their first bump again. That's basically what's going to happen there.
It really is. Like, that's kind of going to be, it's going to be crazy, but I can't wait either. Like, I genuinely can't wait for that. It's just fun, isn't it? That's it. Just break it right down. Like, we got to take it serious, like I say, but it's just fun. It's just a fun thing to do.
Yeah, man, absolutely. We got Billy Hayes is calling you a hench hag. You could be the third member of. You could be the third good egg with JJ and Rex. Even though they're not called that anymore. He says that you helped him find his first school. Don't know where I'll be now if I didn't watch that stuff. Is it? I presume Billy is talking about the videos where you were doing, like, vlogging your first experiences training. I presume at the Al Snow Wrestling Academy.
Must be, yeah. I honestly, sometimes I forget that I did that. It was so long ago now. But no, a lot of people said that. A lot of people said they watched those videos and it gave them an idea about where they should train and stuff, which was the idea. Whether the fact it actually worked, who knew? I didn't know what was going to happen. I just thought it'd be a cool thing to document. So when you hear things like that, it's really cool. Like, it's really cool because that, again, the point wasn't just, obviously it was, I wanted to become a wrestler, of course, but it was also to hopefully get the message out there, like, hey, you can be a wrestler too. You know, it's not easy, but it is easy in terms of you just find a reputable school and you go. I mean, anybody can do that. So it's my pleasure. If I ever help at all, then yeah, man, I'm more than glad to do that.
He's confirming that that's exactly what he's talking about. And I had a question that escaped me, which is a shame. So I'm just going to move on. Carl is saying there was over a year since he saw you against Tate. Love that match. You know what match he's talking about?
Yeah, that was for Hustle in London, I think it was. That was such a shame. That was the first time that I'd done a 2-a-day as well. I had a match in the afternoon. That was I got back on the Saturday. I've been in New York all week with my girlfriend on a holiday, and I literally got off a plane, went to wrestle at New Force Wrestling, which obviously you've been there a lot, David. And then when I was done with that, I went straight to that and had a match against Tate. It was really fun. It was really, really good. I like Tate a lot. He's a good dude. Yeah, that one. Honestly, that was my. I think after 3 matches after that is when all of a sudden everybody started going, uh-oh, something bad is about to go down. But yeah, I was a real good crowd as well. Everything about that show was good, and I kind of.
Sorry, what was your last match?
My last match was against Bullet and Damien in a triple threat match in Slough.
That sounds like WWE.
That's right. No, it was not
a
new
WWE.
promotion. I can't remember the name now. Jake was the promoter of it, and I can't remember the name of the promotion because I'm an idiot. But yeah, that was my last match. It was 15 minutes from my house, which is the closest wrestling match I've ever had. Like, you know, we would travel all over the place. Everyone knows that. And I had no problem doing it. Like,
that's the best. So I live in West London, right? Chiswick, and New Force Wrestling, which was like, it wasn't the first company where I wrestled, because I wrestled for Progress when I wrestled here first, but it was like the first company that kind of like the second promotion that basically used me, and the first one that used me like regularly. And they run just outside West London. And I'm like hearing people going like, oh, I'm gonna have 4 hours until I go back to like Southeast London and stuff. And like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take my bus and I'll be home in 40 minutes. And now that I drive, it would be like, oh, I drive at the time, but I didn't have a car at the time. If it was now, it would be even like, it would take even less time than that. And I'm like, I like this. I like wrestling on my turf.
Oh yeah, it's great. I don't mind at all, but all my matches have been a good, you know, minimum like an hour away. And then when you drive 15 minutes and you're there, you're like, man, it's easy. Not easy, but yeah. So, but not that I'm going to worry about that. I mean, I didn't know what's going to happen when we get back. I don't know who's going to be running. I don't know what promotions. Obviously, a lot of people have to go through a big change. So it's going to be kind of fascinating. But I'll believe it when I see it. I'm going to, you know, it's been such a crazy 12 months. We have no idea what's around the corner. So I'll be tentative. Man. But I'm looking forward to it. And we still need to have a match. We never had our match.
Yes.
After all of the chat about we were going to do it.
Speaking of New Force Wrestling, like, you were coming in as I was leaving, right? When I was like finishing my run there, it was a place for you to start getting some experience, because like you were at that level at the time. And I made sure during one of my entrances, when you were doing like live commentary, which I hate, by the way, I need like, it's one of my biggest pet peeves in wrestling. I freaking hate like just PA commentary. I'm like, what are you doing? Shut up and let the wrestlers wrestle. Anyways, you were doing what you were asked. I made sure to get the picture. I think I told you this, right? Hey, we're doing my entrance. Can we just do this just so I can have like footage and picture of like the two of us doing that? We never had a match. We trained a lot together, but that never happened. No, and no, so we hint. We gotta
do it. Yeah.
Whoever promoters out there, hint.
Yeah, so many bookers. I do want to do it though. There's a load of guys that would be awesome to have a match with. That you.
What's your list? The not like the outrageous, you know, anyone in the world list, okay? But the like for 2021, people that you would like the experience of having a match with.
I mean,
it's probably realistic that you could have it that year.
Yeah. It's mostly people that I either trained with early on or, you know, used to see like all the time. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like that thing, oh, we should do it. So you would absolutely be one. Drake could be one.
I mean, you are on my show. You better say something like that.
I got a choice, but no, honestly, genuinely, Howard Drake would be one, because he was one of the first guys I had a match with, and because I was completely inexperienced, they were kind of booked as ways to protect me, whereas now I'd love to have a proper match with him. Nathan Cruz is a similar kind of a thing. So when I had my first match with him, I had no idea what I was doing, and he held my hand completely. So now I'd love to give that another go around. I mean, there's so many people. I want to go back again. Same with people like Tate. Tate and I had a massive program going in different promotions, and I was kind of getting more and more comfortable with it. And then it got ripped away. Bullet is a good dude. I guess I meant to have a match with Bullet in EWE, and I was looking forward to that too. And then that didn't go down. Oh man, see, the problem is there's so many people now. As soon as we stop doing this, I'll remember.
You'll remember more. Now that's already like a nice list there. Why do I keep forgetting questions that pop up to me? Like you say something, and I'm like, oh, that's gonna be something good to ask, and then when it's time to do it, I forget.
I'm looking through a list now to try and find names.
I'm starstruck, you know. It's Simon Miller on my Twitch channel, you know. You should see the numbers we're doing right now. I thank you for the house, Simon Miller. Oh, I know, I remember. So the thing you were saying about feeling like if those matches would happen today, you'd be able to bring more to the table instead of having to be carried, right? Which is basically how you felt through those matches, right?
Exactly that. I mean, 100% that. It's just, and it was right for me at the time, right? There's nothing I could have brought to the table. I needed to shut up and listen and learn. And I'm still, I'm not massively far above that now, but I am more above that. And so I would like to have more input into it, right? And I would like to be able to do a better job for them too. And I think that's the cool thing about when you do get to do that is you actually feel like you've got better then because you have something to compare it to, and then you're like, oh wow, this time I did that and this time I did this. So, and that was my whole plan. I was like, I'm still looking to this list. I can't. Anyway,
seeing. I feel something similar to that. Not in terms of experience, because I'm a great professional wrestler and I don't need more experience, do I? But obviously, like, I was doing the fantastic thing for a very long time, and I'm the only person allowed to say. I'm not saying this to you, Sam. I'm saying this to the chat. The only person allowed to say fantastic here, it's me, by the way. Like, you guys are not allowed to. Actually, I should like add that word as a banned word. You know, you try to type in fantastic, a message pops up saying you can't use fantastic on this chat. I should do that.
It's fair. It's fair.
I should do that. But it's like I felt like I was doing something back then, and right now, or the rest I'm going to be when I come back is going to be different from that. You know, not 180 different, but it's going to be different, and I'll wrestle differently as well. So like all the matches that I had a chance to, I had a match. Like the match with Eddie Dennis, the match with Wild Boar. They're two good examples of even the match with Ridgeway, which was my last match before things closed down. Like, I want to have that match again because today it would be different because of the way I was going to wrestle when that match happens, if that makes sense, you know?
Oh, dude, no, I'm exactly the same. Like, I got new gear, you know, I got new boots, I got a new finisher already. So like I changed everything for that very reason, because I did a lot of, well, what else can you do if you can't wrestle? You can think about wrestling, right? You can think about character, and yeah, I literally have not that I'm ever going to get away from this because I'm really proud of it and I think it's smart to tie it in. But I have the wrestling version of Simon Miller all good to go now, as opposed to the YouTube guy that stepped into a wrestling ring, you know, trying to cement that down. And all we need is for the doors to open. Alexander Rothmore as well. I knew there was somebody else I wanted to shout out. I've been saying I'd have a match with him for ages. So, and he's a good guy. Obviously, I hate him in the world of wrestling, but he's a good guy. So, yeah, I can't wait until we can actually do it. Because you have these ideas, but maybe they won't work. You have absolutely no idea. It could be an absolute bust. But I want to know, right? I want to try it out. So,
you know, I'm seeing all these guys that haven't been wrestling for a while. So, like, you see this more here in the UK than you see in America, for example, because there's people in America that just haven't stopped wrestling. They just went down a bit, right? But they constantly have been wrestling. But here in the UK, like, I've seen that with especially the second lot of Ref Pro tapings, and I've seen the same thing with the Progress show from this weekend, which is like Cal just added fantastic as a blocked term on the chat, which I appreciate. Thank you, Cal. So I see. Thanks, Cal. That's why you're the mod here. So I see like the wrestling that they were doing, and I feel like, because exactly what you're saying, because people were not, and it happened with you, it happened with me, because we're not thinking about next weekend, next match, next booking, and we're forced to take like steps back and be able to like look at things from a higher level. The creativity, like the small sprinkles of creativity from these matches were really big, and I think that consciously or subconsciously, a part of that is the fact that people haven't wrestled for months, and you just have to think about those things, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's going to be massively helpful. I really, really, really do. Like, the more I've kind of pondered over that stuff, you kind of realize, man, I did get too lost in. Again, it's my inexperience is a lot of it, but I did get too lost in the whole, well, what's the next spot coming, or what am I meant to do here, as opposed to, you know, the fun and well, it's all fun and cool, but the really fun and cool parts where you can make something your own by a reaction or a facial expression or just taking your time, right? You kind of, you know, you learn more about that when you can just observe it from afar. And look, I'm sure when I get in there for the first time, all this will go out of my head, and it will take time to balance out again. But being able to actually remember all of that stuff, and just try and get a little bit more depth to the character, and, you know, what would I do here, what would I do there, as opposed to, well, this is spot 92, where I, you know, I must be in this position, which I did do a lot. I got a lot, you know, deer in the headlights, and you forget. So, I mean, it's all well and good saying this stuff, like I say, but I can't wait to see how it does all transpire when we get to go back in there. I can't wait for the first time until like a school goes, yeah, come down, bump around. Be like, oh man, just the absolute dream.
Billy's in the chat saying the same thing. Like, I have mad spots in the bag. I can hear his voice saying, bro, I have some mad spots in the bag. Which I, like the thing is like you were already like crazy creative when you were wrestling every weekend. Now imagine now that like you just all you have is time to stop and think, right?